What's going on, everybody? I'm Josh Taylor, and welcome to the JTFB YouTube channel. And on this episode of Taking Command with Josh Taylor, I'm going to break down my thoughts on what should be the blueprint for the Washington Commanders 2023 offseason. I put out a tweet earlier today. It's gotten a lot of traction today, so I figured why not do a video, kind of talk a little bit through it. And of course, I'm going to be breaking these down more individually throughout the offseason and do separate videos on those, of course. Now, first one, as the first day of the offseason officially, as we beat the Cowboys yesterday. Don't know how late you're going to be watching this. But the first move I'm making, and Ron Rivera came out today and said that he's going to take about 2 weeks to really evaluate his coaching staff. And of course, the biggest one is looking at upgrading Scott Turner as the offensive coordinator. And I've already got a list of 6 names, 3 in the pros, 3 in college, that I'm going to be doing a video on very shortly before he makes his decision. Just kind of putting that out there, my thoughts and some possible candidates for the offensive coordinator for 2023 for Washington. Now, it's not good when you have players in the locker room, players of other teams, and then players' wives kind of making comments on your play calling. And we've heard it. Even Ryan Fitzpatrick on Monday Night Football was talking about it one time about how Scott Turner's offense isn't quarterback friendly. So I think Scott Turner is ultimately the scapegoat for this season, not only because of the comments and everything, but Ron Rivera is going to be safe for one more season. Obviously, with the sale of the team coming up possibly in the next month or two, it's just not a good time for them to hire a head coach, because it'd just kind of be like a one-year rental of a head coach. It just doesn't really make sense. So I think Ron Rivera is 100% safe this offseason, but Scott Turner is going to be the scapegoat for 2023 offseason. Like I said, I'm going to do a video on that shortly, so stay tuned. Like, subscribe so you can catch up on all the content, but also you don't miss out on anything, because this offseason is going to have a lot of great content in it. I'm super excited about it. Not even just the draft stuff, but just Washington Commanders news. There's always something to talk about with this team, as you know. Now, player-wise, first thing I'm doing is paying Daron Payne. I think everyone can agree on this. That's ultimately the most important thing player-wise this offseason, is keeping Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne together. That Alabama duo turned into the Washington duo, just really keeping that group together, because they had the best interior defensive lineman season in the whole NFL this year, and I don't think it was close. Jonathan Allen's obviously a top 2, top 3 interior defensive lineman, and I'd put Daron Payne in that top 10 conversation. So Daron Payne had the best season of his career separately outside of Jonathan Allen. He had 11.5 sacks, which tied for the most out of any interior defensive lineman in a single season in franchise history, which was done by David Butts back in 1983. And then he also tacked on 18 tackles for loss. Just an outstanding season. We've said over and over and over, yeah, he's been really good in the run stopping, getting off of blocks, kind of causing havoc in the run game, but we didn't really see him get to the quarterback. He did a little bit last year. He took a jump up, but this year he knew this was the year where he'd be getting paid. This was the show us what you got and earn that new contract season, and he just blew it out the water. Honestly, it couldn't have been a better season by Daron Payne. It seemed like every single game he was in the backfield, either getting to the quarterback or stopping the run, whatever it was, Daron Payne was in the backfield. So write that check like he did in that celebration against the Browns. Pay Daron Payne because you have the money. And why? Because Sam Howell on a rookie contract as quarterback 1 is a must. There is no reason to draft another quarterback who's going to have to learn the whole offense of whether it is Scott Turner or a new offensive coordinator. There is not a quarterback good enough that can really have the tools that I seen out of Sam Howell the other night. Bryce Young's not going to be there for you. CJ Stroud's not going to be there for you. And if it's not those 3 guys, I'm not taking a project of a Will Levis, who has a lot of upside, I'll admit, or even Anthony Richardson, anything like that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to draft another guy when he just drafted one last year. Worst case, you roll Sam Howell this year, like I said, on a rookie contract, that luxury of a rookie contract on your team to where you can spend money elsewhere. And then if he's not good in 2023, cool. You've seen a full season of him. You draft one in 2024 with a loaded class with Caleb Williams. Of course, he's going to be hard to get. Drake May is probably my quarterback 2 right now. Quinn Ewers is up there. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks coming out next year. There's no reason why, from what I saw in that Cowboys game, you saw the tools of Sam Howell. Take the offseason to develop him as quarterback 1, roll into the season with him, fix everything else, put money on the offensive line. Like I said, pay Daron Payne, pay Cam Curl's also on the list. Pay that man in the secondary. I didn't write that one down, but he's obviously one of the top 5 concerns is paying Cam Curl. So go ahead and put that in the notes as well. But having Sam Howell on that contract is such a luxury. And with that luxury, that means you cannot overpay a backup quarterback. That's something I said today as well. You cannot overpay Carson Wentz to come back. There's no way. I'm not restructuring anything. There's nothing he showed me that says he would even be a good backup on this team. So Carson Wentz, you need to move on for him. And I said something, I'm kind of going to change my mind on this one. I said that you should move on from Taylor Heineke because of what his market value is. And don't look on Spot Track or whatever. It's not $19.5 million per year or whatever it says. That's not right at all. I think it's more towards there might be a team willing to pay him $8 to $9 million a year. But if it's me, after what I saw, a quote that he said in the locker room today when they were doing clean out, someone from the local media, I forgot who it was, put out a quote that he said, yes, being a starting quarterback is fun. I love it. You want to be the starting quarterback. You want to be that guy that's the hero. But he said he fully accepts the backup role. And I think, and I've heard from multiple people that Washington has a lot of interest in bringing him back as that backup role, just something I've heard chirping lately. But I think it really just depends on what his value is outside of Washington and what the demand is like in the quarterback game this year. Yeah, you have your Derek Carr, possibly Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, like those very limited guys. And outside of that, the market is terrible for a quarterback. Like I said, you get Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or you take one of these project quarterbacks. Nonetheless, it really depends on what the demand is for Heineke, but he wants to be I fully believe he wants to come back. He's crying coming off the field yesterday. He said, how important the season was to him, how much it really meant to him and where he's come from. Everyone knows the story. This fan base loves him. I will say one thing that someone pointed out to me on Twitter today was how much would it really affect, Sam Howell getting the keys to quarterback 1 when you have Taylor Heineke, who fans are cheering for at the games regardless. Like he just has so much, I wouldn't say sway with the fan base, but how hard would that be for Sam Howell being the quarterback 1? Because if he struggles, are the fans going to be cheering for Heineke again at the stadium? We don't know. So for me, Sam Howell in that rookie contract, don't overpay a backup quarterback. Bring back Taylor Heineke as the backup. I'm perfectly fine with that. And if it's not him, I'm bringing in someone like a PJ Walker, a Gardner Minshew, someone of a vet that has some kind of mentorship role. But if something, God forbid, happens to Sam Howell, whether it's injury or just goes south quick, yeah, a quarterback that can come in, be serviceable, and possibly win some games. I like PJ Walker. I like Gardner Minshew. There's a couple other names out there. It just really depends on what happens in the offseason, obviously. But still, rookie contract at quarterback is huge. Next thing, this one's been a kind of a touchy subject with the fan base, but it's getting rid of Logan Thomas. And it's mostly because of how friendly his contract is if we get rid of him. But then also just there's not much effect out of Logan Thomas anymore. There's no more threat as a tight end anymore on this team. And I know he came back from a bad injury, but still he's getting up there in age. He really hasn't been much of a factor in a while. Washington is dying for that tight end 1. And I've been telling people all season, a tight end is a huge need on this team, whether you want to believe it or not. I know we drafted Bates 2 years ago. I know we drafted Cole Turner this past year, but neither of those guys are true tight end 1s in this NFL. Cole Turner's a great receiving guy. He's not a great blocker. And Bates is kind of the opposite. He's an average catch, receiving tight end, but he is a good blocker. But we need a dominant tight end 1, someone like a Michael Mayer, which would be huge. I know it's the first round. Fans don't want that, but still, listen to Logan Thomas's contract for 2023 because he has a possible out for this offseason. 2023, he is a $8.75 cap hit, $8.75 million cap hit only 3.5 mil dead cap hit. So if he's just released, cut, whatever, it's only a 3.5 dead cap hit to the salary. Saves 5.25 mil in 2023. But if he is a post June 1st cut, release, whatever, it splits up that dead cap hit from 2023 to 2024. So it's 1.75 this year, 1.75 mil next year. Regardless, that's not much of a dead cap hit. Yes, we're going to have the money, but if you can bring in a vet tight end, or if you can draft one, super high that can, like I said, a guy like Michael Mayer is a already NFL caliber tight end, and tight ends, they don't really come out in that first year and have a lot of production right away. So I get it. Sometimes you just want to bring back Logan Thomas, but almost $9 million for him, it's just not really worth it. Like I said, you want to pay Cam Curl, you want to pay Daron Payne. Maybe you extend Montez Sweat. Who knows? Maybe you ride that Montez Sweat contract for one more season. But nonetheless, I just don't think his effect is good enough. He's had some good moments as a blocker, but there's also been some rough moments, whether him or Bates getting just obliterated by good pass rushers. We saw with Aiden Hutchinson throughout the season. These young pass rushers are getting to the quarterback, whether it's because of our tackles, which obviously we need to improve offensive line. I'll talk about that. But that tight end position is just, it's a bigger need than a lot of fans really realize. Now, here's another one, possibly releasing Bobby McCain. I've heard both sides of this on Twitter today. For me, Bobby McCain is a liability at safety, which we've seen the emergence of Derek Forrest, who can play that single high free safety, which has been awesome. But then also, once again, Cam Curl being that leader, that strong safety sometimes plays up. Nonetheless, Bobby McCain had some reps in the slot. He wasn't too bad in the slot, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But for me, he has a 2023 cap hit of 5.12 mil, which once again is not awful. But pre-6/1, so pre-June 1st, trade release, there's a 2.8 dead cap hit. So it's a 2.3 million saved. For me, it's just he's either good or he's missing tackles. He's not, where he's supposed to be in coverage. He can't really, fight contested catches too well because of his size. But a post June 1st trade / release in 2023 dead cap is only 700,000. And then in 2024, it's 2.1 dead cap hit. So 2023, 4.4 million saved post June 1st. And the thing is, will Washington spend money in free agency, or can they just, pay Bobby McCain that 5.2 mil cap hit this year? Just keep him in the slot. I don't know. I've heard back and forth on it. But for me, I'm really not too keen on keeping him. I was done with him last year. I'll say the secondary getting better really did help him out. And I think you can say that for any corner, any safety, honestly. This one has gotten a lot of talk as well, and that is cutting or releasing Chase Roulier post June 1st only, not doing it before June 1st because it's a big difference in his contract. I'm going to break down the numbers for you. 2023, Chase Roulier, who has only played 10 games the last 2 seasons as starting center. And I said today, Tyler Larson came in and he filled in that hole pretty well. And then there's a lot of guys I'm looking at in the draft that can come in and start day one at center as well because of how good they've been in college. Obviously, it's a jump, but still, I'd feel good about it. And if not, Tyler Larson could be the guy. But Chase Roulier, who has just been injured a lot, love him to death, good guy, but I'm not paying a center who's not playing $12.87 million in 2023. Pre-6/1, so pre-June 1st, 8.1 dead cap saves you 4.7 mil 2023. Post-6/1, they split it. So 2023, 2024 is a 4 mil dead cap each season. 2023 saves you $8.8 million. Once again, that can either go towards free agency if you want to pay offensive linemen, if you want to get a new tight end, you want to get someone in the secondary that can kind of fill in the Bobby McCain role, whatever you decide to do. Nonetheless, you're saving money, and it's not like he's really playing anyways. You have Tyler Larson, who can play center, and he's banged up right now too. Wes Schweitzer's filled in good in that center spot, which I've been really high on Wes Schweitzer, whether it's at guard or center. He's, obviously it was an adjustment going from guard to center, but he's looked good. So that's what I'm saying. You can have Tyler Larson, 1. Schweitzer can be that emergency backup guy. You can draft a guy, or you can go get a free agent with the money that you are saving. from Chase Roulier, who has really turned into this injury liability. Now, speaking of offensive line, we're drafting offensive line. Every mock draft I'm doing, I'm at least drafting 2 guys. Definitely going to be talking about that throughout this offseason. I've already been looking at the tapes, watching all 22s on a lot of these guys. But for me, I'm drafting offensive linemen. I think Schweitzer and Cosme are likely going to be your guards next year. I'm still holding out on Sam Cosme. He's too athletic, too good to not, have an impact on this team. So I want to see him move to that right guard. Schweitzer moved to that left guard spot and play that full time. And maybe Chris Paul too. Chris Paul in his one game, once again, yesterday looked really good, showed me a lot of great things. There was a clip of him and Schweitzer just pushing a guy, throwing him out the club on a run play. So with that and his pass protection, he looked good yesterday. I want to see more of Chris Paul. I like that, but still, you can never have too many offensive linemen, as you can tell. Every team, not just Washington, but every team, offensive linemen go down throughout the season. But then also, if you do have Sam Howell as that rookie on that rookie deal, as your quarterback is quarterback 1, he needs a good offensive line. And same with Brian Robinson running the ball, Antonio Gibson, and so on. But like I said, if you have to draft a center, you can improve on that. But still, Washington definitely needs to build up that offensive line. And please, for the love of God, find that franchise tackle that we haven't had since Trent Williams. Love Charles Leno to death. But getting up there in age, played 100% snaps this season, which is wild. He's had some really good moments. He's had some really bad moments. Obviously, you don't just remember all the good reps. You remember those really bad ones. But I think it was an up and down season. I think he had like I said, a lot of good moments, but also had some bad ones. But you can always upgrade at that tackle spot, especially on the right side. If Cosme moves to guard, you're going to need someone on the right tackle spot. And I've got my list of tackles that I can't wait to share with y'all. And I said draft cornerback 1. And I'm going to use that cornerback 1 lightly because I also put out another tweet today, just kind of getting a feel for what people's thoughts were on the cornerback spot. And I think there's really 2 situations I could see. And this is what I said on Twitter. Follow me at Josh Taylor FB. 2 possible scenarios for the cornerback position in Washington next year. You can, 1, keep Kendall Fuller and St. Juice outside and draft a guy like Brian Branch, who I am super high on. He's an NFL-ready guy. If you don't believe me, go watch that bowl game against Kansas State, Alabama. He's just a weapon. I think he can move really well into that slot spot. Just compared to how I, watched his game at Alabama, what he did, he would be a phenomenal slot corner. And he would have to be a first-round pick. There's no way he'd be there in the second round for us. So nonetheless, this could be first round, second round corner, whatever. So you keep Kendall Fuller, who's played really well on the outside, and St. Juice, he's been hurt the last few weeks, but outside he, held his own. I was impressed by him. I think he could definitely be that guy on the outside. And then you have a guy like Brian Branch in the slot. So whether you get rid of McCain, Wild Goose in the slot really isn't, too exciting to look forward to for next year. And 2, you can move on from Kendall Fuller, who has a $11.6 million cap hit and only a $3.12 million dead cap next year. And then you can draft a cornerback 1 with St. Juice on the outside, keep Bobby McCain in the slot. So you could get a guy like Joey Porter Jr., Keely Ringo, Christian Gonzalez, Cam Smith. There's Clark Phillips III. There's a lot of, this is my favorite corner class probably ever. And it goes into the second round. It goes into the third round with a guy like Garrett Williams. Like I said, second round, maybe like a Devin Weatherspoon. So there's just a lot of different possibilities at the cornerback position. And I'm going to talk about all of it. I'm going to give you every situation and some guys that could really fit. But for me, if you keep Kendall Fuller and you keep St. Juice, draft Brian Branch in the first round, and that secondary is going to be lights out. He is so good in the run stop. He is phenomenal at getting to the ball, whether it's on screens or slants or whatever. He's a physical tackler. I mean, just that game against Kansas State showed me everything I needed to see out of him. That was just the icing on the cake for him being a top 20 player on my draft board. And of course, outside of that, I said we need to upgrade the linebacker 2 spot. We know Cole Holcomb's a free agent, and nonetheless, you can upgrade from Cole Holcomb. So maybe you bring him back as a linebacker 3, linebacker 4. Cleek Hudson actually looked really good against the Cowboys as well. Got a game ball, kind of just stepped in and filled in that role for Jamin Davis, who is out. But you still need to really beef that up. I'm not saying draft one in the first again, second, whatever. maybe like a third, fourth round linebacker, or you get someone like a vet in a free agency that's not too expensive. Like, we're not going out there signing someone crazy, but still, you can upgrade that position from Cole Holcomb, who was a liability in coverage. And this season, he missed a good bit of tackles early on in the season, especially that Lions game. He had a rough showing against DeAndre Swift. But still, you can upgrade that linebacker 2 spot big time. And then, of course, the kicker. Joey Sly goes out in the worst way possible in that Dallas game. It's been spotty, whether you draft one late, which honestly I'm fine with. If it can guarantee you getting a reliable guy, do it. 6th round, 7th round, I don't care. Or you can sign a vet because you have some freed up money. Kickers are not that expensive. We're not going out and getting Justin Tucker or something. So please, for the love of God, upgrade the kicker. Find out who's going to return punts. Put Jahan Dotson back there. He's a weapon. I know you don't want one of your best wide receivers back there returning punts, but I don't care. If he can return 2, 3, maybe 4 touchdowns in a season, I'm doing it. Giving you good field position, that dude is electric in space, as we've seen. I'm telling you, go watch the Penn State tapes when this guy was returning punts. He was a legit threat. So that's my list of the blueprint for Washington's 2023 offseason. Player-wise, offensive coordinator-wise, you name it. Like I said, I'm going to be going down these individually throughout the offseason. We've got a long, God knows how many months. And then, coming up to the draft. So I'm going to be breaking down all the draft players that I like, not just for Washington, but just in general. Some big name guys, some sleepers, some gems that are going to be out there. That's going to be on this channel as well. My show, The Draft Board, going to be dropping the first video on that soon. But I'm going to be doing my offensive coordinator video very soon, maybe even tomorrow. I should have some time, so I'm going to break that down as well. So like I said, subscribe to the channel, get things going. Just got my invite to cover the Senior Bowl again this year, where I talked to Sam Howell last year, got some really good interviews with him, really got to know him, and that's why I was such a big fan of Sam Howell. I seen his arm, I seen his game at North Carolina, but just getting to know him. Sam Howell's such a cool dude. So just looking forward, grateful to have that opportunity at the Senior Bowl again. But I will see y'all on the next episode of Taking Command with Josh Taylor. Peace. Enjoy this win. Yes, it's been a roller coaster of a season. Check out that tweet Pete Haley put out. It cracked me up. It was like 81 seconds of just summarizing our season this year. And there's 100 emotions in that 81 seconds of video. It was a crazy season. Every season's felt like this. So can't wait to really talk about everything in the offseason and build towards a hopeful 2023 with maybe a new owner, new offensive coordinator. Sam Howell has the reins as quarterback one. So buckle up. It's going to be a long one, and I'll see y'all next time.